great to be here with you all today. And I have to say that in bringing the case against Israel to the International Court, the Court of Justice, South Africa has shone a light for many new people on the humanitarian catastrophe that has been unleashed in Gaza. The South African government, in our view, has therefore done humanity a great service in taking the stand that they have and in bringing this case. The case against Israel that was presented by the South African legal team was absolutely compelling. Irish people in particularly, and I want to say this, are very proud of the contribution of Blinyan Igrálde, who set out in very stark, indisputable terms that Israel is in gross violation of international law, and that, as I believe it, that Israel is in breach of the Genocide Convention. On the other hand, the Israeli arguments to the ICJ amounted to pure deflection, and that is because, of course, there is no justification for the actions in Gaza that have resulted now in the deaths of well over 23,000 people, including over 10,000 children. Those actions, as we know, have included the deliberate killing of civilians, the intentional targeting and destroying of civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, including schools, and also has included the collective punishment, the denial of water, food, fuel, emergency medical supplies to a civilian population, and the forced displacement of virtually every single resident in Gaza. And meanwhile, we also know that Israeli violent actions in the West Bank continue to intensify. I have to say it's deeply regrettable up until this point that the Irish government have thus far refused to support the South African case. That is the case across Europe. In fact, one European government has indicated in the case of Germany that they intend to support the Israeli position. Absolutely an indefensible position. But for those countries like Ireland, whose governments have said many of the right things in respect of Israeli breaches of international law, their arguments for refusing to support South Africa in their case are unconvincing and in fact are contradictory. We have the Taoiseach, our Deputy Prime Minister. His approach has been to attack the opposition for simply requesting that he take meaningful action. And he knows, for example, that Sinn Féin, as the main opposition party in Ireland, have constructively engaged with government on this issue, and we have welcomed positive interventions that the Irish government have initiated. But he also knows that we want strong words to be matched by strong action that will actually help bring an end to the slaughter that we're seeing in Gaza. And that, I believe, is the position of the vast majority of Irish people also. Our Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar's position, he has moved in some ways from a position of actually making an argument against the South African case to stating that he actually hopes then that the ICJ makes the interim ceasefire order that the South African case seeks as a first measure. And then he suggests that somehow there may be a role for Ireland without specifying what that role may be, because he then further contends that Israel will simply ignore any such provisional order that might come from the ICJ. So I would argue very strongly that the time for Ireland and for like-minded countries that are proud of having a consistent approach to international law, the time to act is now. The time to stand up for international law, for international humanitarian law, for the UN Charter is now. There must be a consistency of approach. Ireland, for example, has joined an ICJ case under the Genocide Convention brought against Russia in respect of their invasion of Ukraine. We support the Irish government's position in that. But in order to be credible, states and governments have to be consistent. It is not good enough to simply condemn breaches of international law. We have to be consistent in how we respond to that. And the international community has a responsibility to end the barbarity that we are seeing and witnessing in Palestine, and Israel must be held to account. And I think that Ireland and states like Ireland can and must follow South Africa's lead by working with others to show the decisive leadership and help bring an end to the decades-old policy of Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people, which we know has caused such destruction, mayhem, catastrophe in Gaza in particular over the past number of months. We are now witnessing a humanitarian and health catastrophe unfolding before our eyes, and the time for action is now. Thank you.